Being diagnosed with ulcerative colitis can be scary, and it's like entering an unknown world. So that's why I wanted to find out your greatest fears when it comes to inflammatory bowel disease. So I took to Reddit and I asked the question, what are you most afraid of with IBD? And I said that I'm personally most worried about the long-term side effects of my medications. Will they reduce my lifespan? Well, a life without medications certainly would. What are you guys most afraid of with IBD? And I had quite a few responses, so let's take a look. So we got a message here from the Lazy Canoe and they said, I'm scared that I'll flare up horribly and I'll struggle to look after my young children. Guess I'm worried I'll be a burden and unable to work and care. Yes, that does sound like a terrifying prospect and no one wants to be a burden on anyone. And that's why I think it's really important to do preventative measures like trying to get the best sleep and diet you can. But it doesn't always work because flares just come up at the wrong place and at the wrong time. And someone's responded here, said, "Oh, this hits me hard. I know that feeling too well. Hope you feel supported and cared for." Having support around you is one of the most important things for when you're dealing with inflammatory bowel disease. And this can make you feel like a burden because you need others to help you out. But just know that flares don't last forever. And at some point you will feel better. So try not to feel like a burden because you're not. You're just being cared for in a moment of need. This one's from anonymous username 44. Scared of depending on medication long term. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm scared of too. I don't understand why, but taking so many pills makes me sad and a bit nauseous every day. Some days it feels like it comes to my head and I'm fed up with it. Well, taking medications is something you get used to. I was pretty terrified when I started taking my medications because you end up reading this massive list of potential side effects. But very quickly it becomes the norm. And as long as you don't feel any side effects, it's very easy to forget about that and just keep taking the pills on a daily basis. But when I think about the long-term impacts, I do wish to come up with an exit plan. How can I get off of these medications? But for now, I'm on them and I'm healthy. So that's where I'm going to stick with. Violet says, I'm scared of it coming back. I think we're all scared of that. I think I'm in remission after a course of steroids and medication's not working. So, I mean, if you're currently not in a flare, that's fantastic news. That's the best time to start working on your health, doing some physical exercise, eating right, getting yourself in the best shape possible. So if something bad does happen, you're going to be more resilient for next time. So let's look at the next comment. We've got one here from J-Hope Ultimate Bias. Scared if the medications would take a toll on me later. As am I. We've said that already. I started biologics at 18 years old. Next is scared that I'll run out of options and eventually need surgery. And another response here, same, I literally have nightmares. Yes, I think that's the outcome we're all quite scared of, to be honest, that it's going to progress, you're going to have your bowel removed, maybe even turns into bowel cancer, but we just got to take things as they come. And just to give you some relief from that nightmare thought, that I have talked to people who have had their bowel removed and they're living a good life. And some of them aren't even on medications anymore because removing that part of the bowel has actually stopped them from having a problem because it's not there to get inflamed. Now, that's not something that we all want to deal with. We want to keep our bowel and we want it to be healthy. But if it does come to that and you do end up in that situation and you've tried everything, just know that there are people out there who've had good experiences with that. So try not to be scared. So Calais says, shitting myself in traffic. Yes, that would be quite terrifying. I mean, actually, not so terrifying. I mean, you just crap yourself in the car, maybe open the window, let the smell out until you get home and you can tidy it up. It's not the worst thing in the world. And we got a response here saying, I always assume when people are driving like maniacs, they also have IBD. Wish them luck making it to the toilet. It takes away any road rage because I personally drive like a maniac when I almost don't make it. When I look at people on the road, I'll be honest, I don't think most of them have IBD. I think it's quite uncommon. I think most of them are just driving like lunatics. So Bathroom Queen here says, I crashed my car into my garage once because I had to shit so badly. That's terrible. And then Fire Meets Gasoline, that's a good name to respond to that, says mad respect. Yes. You will have an intense mindset when you need the toilet. It is that rush. So we got a long one here from Ollie123. scared of all the side effects of medications. That seems to be what a lot of people were scared of. When I went on steroids, it was the worst 2 months ever. I had mental issues worse than I've ever experienced. I had more facial hair growth, and it made me never go to school. Scared of all diseases, I could be at more risk to cancer and that sort of stuff. I also hate that I don't feel like I can live a normal life compared to other people. Like when I was drinking for the first time, I had a flare up, and my doctors say I shouldn't have too much, which isn't a bad thing, but I really just want to be a normal teenager. Well, in terms of the steroids, I can totally relate to you on that. I also felt like I went crazy. But I will say, not being able to go out drinking, not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you could go out and just not drink the alcohol, so you're not missing out on social opportunities. But, having this condition where it's like you have a drink and it very quickly affects you and you flare, I know exactly what that feels like. Just don't do that thing. It's better for you to not drink alcohol, but still go to those social things, because I think missing out on social things, especially when you're a teenager, not a great thing. You kind of want to keep in that social circle because you don't want to be isolated. Don't consider yourself not normal. There's plenty of people like you. And also there's plenty of people with other kinds of chronic illness and disease that we haven't heard from. And they're probably also wishing that they were normal. But you guys, what is normal anyway? We're all in this weird situation where we've got inflammatory bowel disease or something's going on. And if you speak to someone who hasn't got anything going on, there probably will be some sort of health issue in the future. We all battle with something. So don't worry. Do your best to live with it, because that's all we can do. And I just want to say that when I've experienced this, you get sort of punished very quickly for the things that you eat and drink with ulcerative colitis or inflammatory bowel disease for that matter. So it's almost like it's a very quick turnaround. I might have a pizza. Within half an hour, I'm on the floor, curled up in pain. But someone else, who doesn't have a chronic, inflammation of the bowel and the gut, they might have the pizza. They might not notice the side effects for 30 years. So if anything, it's doing you a favour. You just got to listen to your body, adhere to the rules that it's telling you, like don't drink alcohol. You're better off without it. But go to the social events. And if you are worried about things going wrong, take some countermeasures. Like if you think you're going to crap yourself, bring something like, I don't know, a nappy and some spare pants and just quickly go to the bathroom when no one's looking and change it. Maybe wear a backpack to hide it all in. I don't know, just think about ways to deal with it. Everything is manageable if you can think of a way to do it. A Panda 15 says, I'm scared of infection. My body can't fight off shit. I've already had sepsis once. And then someone also said, hi, just curious, do you get your vitamin D checked at all? Well, that is a good point. If you're low in vitamin D, you're more prone to getting colds and flus and that sort of thing. It's not really going to help with a virus or anything. So, I mean, I've never had sepsis. I'm very glad I haven't had sepsis. I'm sorry that you've been through that. But I would say if you're scared of infection, just make sure that you've got a well-balanced diet. You get all the vitamins that you need. If someone's sick, maybe try and avoid them. I was terrified of getting an infection because I'm on the immunosuppressants, so I went completely overboard and I avoided lots of contact and going out. It was sort of like when we was in lockdown, but I was like perpetually in that mindset. So if just be more vigilant, really. If one of your friends is sick, just try and ask them, how are you feeling before you meet up? And if they say, oh, I've got a cold, you could always get them to wear a mask if they're hanging out with you. Take some countermeasures, but don't let the fear rule your life, because we're all going to get ill at some point and there's not much we can really do about it. But if you can get your body in the healthiest state possible, you'll get through it. Windigo says, of the medications I take no longer working. So that they're scared of their medications not working anymore. As there's only one alternative left, according to my doctor. I've had severe Crohn's for 22 years, so it's not looking good if I get into a phase without effective medications. Yes, I can see how that would be terrifying, knowing that there's only one option. I'm guessing it's some sort of surgery or something. That does sound scary. And if you are worried about that sort of thing, I would suggest just finding people online that have already been through that, so you can learn from them, learn about all the possible outcomes, What could have gone wrong? What went right? How do they feel now? That's what I think would help. Knowledge. If you're really scared of it, get some knowledge and learn about it. And just, I guess at the end of the day, it's just accepting what's going to happen. That's what I found very useful whenever I was in a flare. If, when I'm feeling very ill and I'm sat there and I'm thinking, oh God, this is dreadful. I wish I wasn't in this state. I just think to myself, this is the state I'm in. I'll just accept it. And, just accepting it, it did help me get through it. I mean, it didn't change anything. I was still feeling shit, but it did help me get through it because I just accepted that this is how my life is. Lucky Penny says blockages. Yep, so your gut getting blocked up, it bloody hurts. Never had a full blockage before is something you don't want. So I guess just stay hydrated. Make sure that things are flushing through. I haven't got much to say on that. I haven't experienced it myself. Lacking apathy says, yeah, the medication anxiety is real for me. Also, potentially having a shorter lifespan and possibly having to have major surgery at some point down the line. And Fit Branch 120 says same. Yep, I've had exactly the same anxieties. It feels like we're all having the same anxieties. Just the other day, I've Googled this before, but I typed into Google, what is the lifespan of someone with ulcerative colitis, like expected lifespan? And the Google always regurgitates this answer saying, oh, it's about the same as a normal person if it's well managed. And I leave it at that because I don't want to learn any further. Sometimes ignorance can be bliss. It's just like, oh, I'll leave it at that and then move on. Just living in the now, that's what I'm going for. Yep, it could reduce our lifespan. But then again, so could a plethora of other things could also reduce our lifespan. Bowel disease might not even be the thing that finishes us off. So let's just not worry about it for now. It's a thing down the road. Just treat yourself as best as you can. Get sleep, exercise, diet, all the good stuff. And don't worry about it because there's not much we can change about that. Meow1313 was scared I'd have to get an ostomy. And then I got one. And it's not that bad. In ways, it's better. Scared the disease would make me rely on others and losing my independence. It feels like a lot of us are worried about being a burden on others. And yes, that does suck having to rely on others, especially when you got no one else around you. So yeah, I can totally understand why that would be terrifying. OK Ambition says, I'm scared of my meds that they'll stop working one day. Yep, I'm right there with you. That Woman 4 says, I'm scared of it worsening. And of what a potential partner may think if I end up in another relationship and shitting myself in public again. Oh, well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, isn't it? If you feel like you're in that sort of flare, my method was I just spend more time at home. I don't want to go out if I'm potentially going to crap myself. Or if I am, I'm going to be prepared for it. Bronwyn Sayer says heights. Honestly, IBD has ceased to scare me, and although I keep on top of it, take my meds, watch out for flares, I now just see it as a problem to try and surmount rather than to fear. Yes, I totally agree with this. Once you've had it for quite a long time, it's not like a giant fear anymore, it's just something that you manage. I 100% agree with this. It's a problem to try and surmount. Thriving despite. I really love this response. Parsley Express says, I'm at the I never imagined this point. I can't read. My biologic isn't working at all. I'm relying on steroids and muscle relaxers and nausea medications. I'm fully reliant on these pills right now, and that's extremely hard for me to accept and be comfortable with as I'm on my younger years. And I enjoy to party a lot and take things that I shouldn't, and have become an addict for many years. Thankfully, I'm no longer that person, but these times do bring back those bad memories. Day to day I go. I barely can be a father or a husband with the shape I'm in now, and it's depressing. Yep, I imagine that would be depressing. But being in this shape now, my fears turn more to the unexpected. I'm this far down, what can happen next, I ask myself. Truthfully, right now, my fears are getting a feeding tube, and that's the track that I'm heading towards, it seems. All you can do, really, is work on mindset. That's all I would say. I mean, if these medications, they're not working, it feels like you're going down a certain path, then I would just, work on your mindset. What can you do to accept what's going on? If I was in that situation, yes, I would be very scared, obviously, because it's quite a big thing that's going on. If my biologics stopped working and all the options were blocked off, I guess I just have to work on my mind, How can I get through this? What can I do? What action can I take that I can control? This is something that I've heard a lot. And it is difficult, but people always say, focus on the things that you can control. Can you control your body fighting off these medications and making them not work anymore? Not really. Like, to an extent, maybe with because say, for instance, I'm on azathioprine, and the idea of me being on that medication is it stops that from happening. Don't know if it will long term. That's, besides the point anyway. I can't really stop my body building antibodies to my medication. But what I can do is work on my mindset, like make plans for if it was going to happen, what would I do? I don't know. I'd probably make more videos on it, document what's going on, because that's what I like to do. What can you do? So to Parsley Express, what can you do to help you get through this? Communicate. Have you got a partner? It says you've got kids. Mate, I'm assuming you must have a partner. But if you're living on your own with the kids, I imagine that'd be very hard. Oh yeah, you say you're a husband. So yes, I would say communicate with your partner. Have you told them your fears? Yeah, I'd start there. And then I would just have a very open dialogue with my healthcare provider, because what else can I do? And then past that, I guess it's just try and do something else to take your mind off of it, really. Or work on yourself. I don't know. Very tough to sit, very tough position to be in. I totally empathise for you in that position. I don't have many answers for you. That's all the advice I've got, really, is working on, how you see the situation. Maybe the therapist can help. I've been to therapy, and it did help. Helped me through, I was talking to my therapist when I was in my worst flare in hospital, and she helped me. That's where I learned how to accept the situation I was in and just live with it. And I think that's very helpful. The Siren 7 says fistulas. So I just want to make sure that I am clear on what this is. So a fistula is an abnormal or surgically made passage between a hollow or tubular organ. Oh, I see. So here's a picture. It's like a cave. Ooh, I guess that's painful. And apparently you can get a bad infection from it. Yes, that sounds pretty terrifying. Late sleeper food eater. That's quite a cool name. Complications from a bowel resection almost killed me. I was left in a medically induced coma after going septic. So septic's like an infection. And I had an emergency ostomy surgery. I'm having my reversal in 3 weeks, and I'm petrified of complications could happen again. It's so terrifying how it almost killed me. Yes, that would be bloody terrifying. Yes, the way I see it, everything that happens with inflammatory bowel disease, it's like a mental trauma. I know what I'm saying is nowhere near as rough as what you're saying, but it's like when I wipe my arse and I look down and I check the colour, is it red? It's the trauma of the past, and I see it's brown, it's like, okay, that's all right then. But yes, I can totally understand, you went through that life-threatening situation. It's like it's a trauma, the mental trauma of what happened before. But all I can say is just think about the positives and how it could help. Again, it's just, like I keep saying, accepting what's going on. That's all I can really say, really, because I can't heal you and I can't change your situation. All I can do is, provide the experience that I've had. I haven't been in this situation, so that sounds very intense. Paloma 8th Reptilian. Oh, Paloma the Reptilian. I get confused because it's all one word. Paloma the Reptilian says, as someone who's currently in the diagnosis process for IBD, losing my intestines or having some kind of life-threatening injury, I remember when I got my MRI results 3 weeks ago, I sobbed in fear and frustration when I read that my colon lesions, I guess ulcers, were compatible with inflammatory bowel disease. So this person's just been diagnosed and they're scared. Obviously, it's a very scary thing to be going through. Yes, I was terrified of having like a perforation. That was what I was most terrified of happening when I was in my worst flare, because you don't know how bad it is inside, and I was bleeding so much, and I thought, could the lining of my gut make a hole at any moment? I was really scared of that, and I just ended up phone in. There's a non-emergency line here in the UK, and I end up phoning that and just talking to a healthcare specialist, a doctor, whoever it is, helped me put aside those anxieties. And if you've just been diagnosed, I don't know how intense it is for you. It's probably quite unlikely, to be honest. It depends on the level of your flare, though. I don't know how bad it is. But if it's just like, if you're bleeding, maybe it's a mild to moderate flare, you'll probably be okay for a little bit. It'll be all right. Hopefully you'll get some medications that will start helping you heal through that flare. So Erica says poop in my pants. Seems like we've all got that as a worry. Again, there's, methods. Wear a nappy. That's what we give to babies who are going to crap themselves. And, people in care homes. Why can't we wear a nappy if we're going to crap ourselves? Just a logical thing to think. One Happy Owl says, being told the meds aren't working anymore and the doctor wants to take my bowel. I feel like we're all in the same boat here. That's a hard no for me. If it came to that, I'd choose a medically assisted death. Whoa, that's intense. I admire anyone who can and does live with a colostomy bag. Why can't I talk? But for me, that's not the way I'm willing to live. Well, I'll just say, I'm on a few IBD discords, and people who have the bags, it seems like they're perfectly happy with it. I mean, I don't know what it's like to have one because I haven't got one, but I see quite a lot of people who say it completely helped their life and they wouldn't go back. So Soldier Kid says, this is my biggest fear too. I'm lucky to have found cannabis handles a lot of my symptoms, but I constantly live in fear that one day it won't do the job. I've tried a lot of the medications and they don't work and give a load of nasty side effects, like having practically no immune system. So I refuse to go down that route, and the thought of having my bowels removed and having to deal with a bag permanently attached to my stomach sounds like a nightmare. Well, again, I'll just say I've seen people who are living good lives with the bag. It's not the end of the world. I would suggest just having a look at some stories of people who've had, colostomy bags and that sort of thing and talking to them. It's not the end of the world, It doesn't have to be, you don't have to choose medically assisted death because you might have to have a bag. It could help you. It's worth giving it a try at least. But it's great that this person has found cannabis helps. I'll be honest, I didn't really find cannabis help me. I actually used to find if I'd vape some cannabis, it feels weird calling it cannabis, vape some weed, I'd find that I would flare, but I think I was just in a flare already. So I found that I'd go to the bathroom after and it almost made me bleed a little bit more. But there is apparently it'll work better if you have Crohn's. I'm not sure how well it helps ulcerative colitis. I mean, it did help the pain, but I don't know how much it actually helps the flare. I don't think it really, really helped me, as it were. But yes, it seems that many of us are terrified of our medications not working anymore, having to have our bowels removed, and all that sort of thing. And I think that's because our mind goes to the very worst outcome. I think it's just human nature, because that's that's what anxiety is there for, is to tell you of the potential dangers. So when we're told the potential dangers, you probably end up Googling it just like I have. You look and you're like, that could happen? You immediately think, oh, it will happen to me. It's catastrophizing what's going on. And I've been very guilty of this many a time. But I would say just take things as they come. Live in the now. What's happening now for you? Is now bad? Like some people said, they're in a situation where the meds isn't working and they're exploring other things. Well, that's what you're dealing with right now. Are you healthy now? Well, bloody relish the right now. Work on making yourself physically and mentally strong. So if something does happen down the line, you're more prepared to deal with it. And if you are scared, I've got some options for you. You could make yourself a care plan. So write yourself a little plan of action. If you find yourself in a flare, this is what you would like to have happen to you. And you could give that to someone like your loved one or whoever you live with. And it'll be like a little document. So open in case of flare. And then they can read that and be like, Oh, Jacob has said that if he is in flare, he would like to have fish and a hot bath. Whatever it is that you'd like to do. It's your little care plan. How would you like to be treated? How would you like people to help you there in case of emergency? And then I just think that helps you feel less scared of what's going on. And yes, if you are scared of the future, research the ways in which these medications could change, or future medications that you're not on. It's good to know those sort of things, but don't research it to the point when you're just isolated in fear. Just look up how you can deal with the ways that, the things that are being presented to you. There's no point catastrophizing everything. But it is human nature. It's very hard. But anyway, if you're one of the people that left a message in this Reddit thread, thank you so much for sharing your fears. A lot of them are very relatable to me, and they're all fears that I've had. And thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I thank you so much. And if you haven't shared your fears, share them below. Maybe we can talk about it. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.